Hello, welcome again. Here we are, ready to learn some Photoshop. I'm Nick, these are me tuts. Let's get rolling. We just finished the brush tool, and now, one thing, quick tip. Not that quick, actually. With the brush tool, something I should have said. On a Mac, I press Control Alt, and I go left and right, you can see it changes the size. On a PC, it's Alt, right click, and then squiggle. If I go up and down, that happens, and that's called the hardness or softness. All the way up is 0, all the way down is 100. So if I paint, So if I paint here at hardness 0, you can see it's like a black sun. Black hole sun, won't you come? And then if I go Control Alt all the way to hard, same size brush pretty much, but when I do that, it fills the whole thing with black. That's a very hard edge, that's a very soft edge. I tend to be in soft most of the time. Some people choose hard. But this is useful for like writing a font. But you probably shouldn't be doing that in Photoshop anyway. Okay, so Command Z, Command Alt Z, Command Alt Z. Bye. Okay, so now we're moving on to the clone stamp. It's ever so exciting. This is basic. Like, man can do so much with the clone stamp too. So, let's say, for instance, that I want to remove this bench. It is offensive to my eye. So, to remove this bench, I would require to have a tree in front of it. So, clone stamp S is the shortcut. As me doing my Control Alt jobby. Soft edge with clone stamp is almost a necessity. You want a soft edge for it to blend in. Trust. So I want to copy this tree and put it here. So at least I've got the tree back. So I can do that by copying this tree trunk here. I'm just going to make that a little bit smaller by pressing Alt and then left click or stab with your pen. And I see what's happened there. What I just did. Current layer. So these, again, are the layers. I'm on this layer. It is empty. There is nothing at all on it. So if I'm alt-clicking, I'm buffoon. I am trying to copy nothing somewhere else. Not ideal. If I go to current and below, and then alt-click, boom, you can see it's ready to paint the tree. And that's because it's current layer and the below layer. This is the way you want to do it with the clone stamp anyway. Okay, it's not called non-destructive editing. Try not to destroy your original work. And because I could clone stamp on the background layer, but then I'm painting on the picture. So if I delete it, I'm deleting the picture. Whereas if it's on here, when I clone stamp and let's say I put the tree here, I do that, it's gone. That's the beauty of having layers in this program, is that you can lay stuff on top like an onion, a stinking dirty onion. So here's my tree, independent of the background because it's on its own layer. But we're going to get rid of that. Command Alt Z. One thing of note is up here is aligned. So this is important. If I alt left click here, right, and I want to paint the tree here, I like that. It's nice. But then I want to put the tree down here. If I start painting, it's not going to copy the tree anymore. It's going to copy the bench. Because when I paint from here, over here, it's great. But when I start painting down here, it's painting from down here. It's not painting from here, no, it's painting from down here. So you must always be aware if a line is ticked or not. There's a use for both. Anyway, Command Alt Z, bye. So, the tree. Le tree. I don't know what French is for tree. I was rubbish at French. I got an E. And I was quite proud of that. So, alt click. What you want to do with the clone stamp, if you're doing something like this, is look for the contrast areas. You can clearly see the edge of the tree. So when I alt click here, I can see when I paint to match up the tree. So if I start painting down here, like that, and then you can see I've got a nice little tree there. That's fine. It stopped a little bit too soon, like the tree on its own platter. But that can be solved with simply Alt left clicking and going back down here, like that. There we are. Wonderful. Now, you've also got a problem. We get a problem. We get the same piece twice, and it looks stupid. It's obvious that this has been copied, and it's a rookie error. You've got to amend the problem by Alt left clicking here and going paint, 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 paint. And maybe Alt left clicking here and going paint, 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 paint. You see, now it looks different. It is hidden. You would not know. Actually, I would, because so you're looking for anything that looks the same, and just Alt left click somewhere and paint over it. So there's a tree that looks natural, but obviously there's this thing around the outside. But I'll deal with that in the masking tutorial, because that is how I would remove this fringing, they call it, but it's unnecessary. So that's the clone stamp in a nutty shell. Right, now the next thing is this thing, which I'm not going to talk about. Remember I said Google it. History brush tool, art history brush tool. I know it does. It like paints over a part of an image that's been changed, and it will try and remember what you changed in that particular part without editing anything else by going backwards. But that's not how I do things. I go Command Z, Command Alt Z. I know what's been changed back and what I did. I don't know what I did with that, so I don't use it. Google it. What else? Eraser tool. Well, that's quite simple. It erases. Command Alt Z. And then also you got the background eraser tool. Now this jerk hasn't yet figured out the wonder of the background eraser tool, so I shall teach you what he does not know. Now with the background eraser tool selected, if you click on, for instance, the sky here, and you start painting, it's just going to try and remove the sky, because it is looking for the differences between the color and the contrast. And there is an obvious difference here, so it will take away the background nicely. If you get up here, and for instance you want to remove the sky but not the cranes, with your tolerance set to 50%, the chances are it's going to take away the intricate details in the foreground. But if you set your tolerance to, say, 1%, it will be less forgiving with the differences in the color and the contrast. So over here, it will be the same. But over by the cranes, you can see it now keeps the crane, and it does not remove them. This makes removing backgrounds a lot easier, because it will still retain the details that you have asked it to retain. How about that? And then the next tool we have in the book is the gradient tool. Banging. Really useful for backgrounds. So down here, if you create a new layer with that button, because we don't want to mess around with this picture, and it's locked, which is actually useful this time. So the gradient will pick your foreground and background colors. Those two colors will clearly not work together. X, swap them around. But these two colors, pastel colors, I like my pastels. They will. So it's going to use these two colors there, and when I click and draw a line, it's going to do that. That's blob, is because this layer is above. So let's put that underneath, and then so you get that, which is nice. You've got options up here. We'll go into them later. It's not important right now, but Command Z, Command Alt Z. We're actually going to, let me just put that there so it doesn't keep happening. You also got, so you can do a radial one. So if you point it in the center where you want the color to go, you get a nice radial blur. And there's many, but there's not, there's three more. There's no point, just click them do something, you'll figure it out. Not necessary. I don't really use that. I use this gradients. If I'm going to do a gradient, I use this instead because it's on its own layer and it's editable. I don't have to Command Z anything. Again, we're going to do that later. It's not necessary right now. Oh, what's the time? 10, 20. All right. Well, I've gone too far. I've gone too far, man. So I'm going to leave it there. At the gradient tool, the next tool we're going to do is the blur, sharpen, smudge tool.
Hey, you know when you explained brush sizes at the beginning?
I do, Tommy.
Yeah, well, I already did that in the last tutorial.
Well, I forgot, Tommy. There's.
Hey, do you know why you forgot?
I can hazard a guess.
Because you're a jerk.
Yeah. Thanks, Tommy.
So long.